Welcome to the DigiKnow Podcast, episode 10, where today we ask the question, did you know how to sell yourself? And here to try and answer that question in the studio with me today is probably our best guest we've ever had, or there's at least a 1 in 10 chance of being our best guest ever.
No
given
pressure.
the fact this is episode 10, so you have a 1 in 10. Somebody give me a rim shot there.
Ba-bum-bum-bum.
Miranda Khan in the studio. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on a podcast site, and you're wondering why does that face look so familiar? Why does that voice sounds so familiar? Well, she is used to be a news anchor on network TV, and more recently was an anchor on Newsmax television.
Correct.
And has done countless numbers of commercials and infomercials and whatnot as a professional spokes talent. And we're glad to have you here. I'm done bragging about you.
I'm glad to be here. I don't even think I need to sell myself. I think he just did it.
Well, that does it for this episode.
You're hired. He did a great job.
Well, so Chumney and Associates and Miranda Khan are, she's a great friend of the agency. We've done a lot of commercials together over the years, but I think again, what sets you apart from a lot of other paid talents we've worked with over the years is just not only who you are as a person and your personality, but again, your scope of work. And that's why I wanted to have you in here today to talk about the idea of selling yourself, because you have done so many other things that are in no way, shape, or form automotive related, you've certainly done plenty of car commercials.
Yes.
But you have done so many other things.
I was trying to think when you were talking about that, because it's been 11 years. Yeah. I was trying to think how many car commercials, but I think
7.
No, it's way more than that.
I know, I was joking.
But hundreds. But I would say, I think last count there was 40-something different dealerships or something I've worked
Well, if you've done hundreds of car commercials, you've done thousands of other things that are not automotive related.
Right.
And that's why I'm excited to have you in here today to talk about how to sell yourself, because, if you've ever gone to school for some type of business or business communications, they always say when you're interviewing for a job, make sure you sell yourself on why they should hire you instead of the other person.
Right.
And that thing we learned in school, I believe, transcends into marketing and advertising.
Definitely.
Whether it's car commercials, whether it's being a newscaster or writing a children's book or whatever the case might be. So with that, we want to kick off the episode. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And just give us a little bit of your background on where you started and how selling yourself got you some gigs where you got hired to be the spokesperson or the anchor instead of somebody else.
Well, I actually started in broadcast journalism when I was in high school, believe it or not. It was kind of a fluke sort of thing. I had a friend of mine. His name is Scott Grigsby. Ironically, he lives in Florida now. We both grew up in Kansas. And he just kind of recommended I take this class. Wasn't really looking to go into that, wasn't really sure what that was all about. So fast forward, I had a wonderful high school teacher who brought in some people that were actually in the business, and one of those individuals happened to be, his name was Bruce McRoberts. I'm still very close with him to this day, but he was a sports director at a local cable access channel. And he came up to me and said, "Hey kid, when you graduate, give me a call." So I got my first foot in the door. I want to say when I was 19 years old, which is just 2 years ago. He was wonderful, and I didn't know anything about sports. I mean, literally, I knew nothing. And I remember the general manager, a woman by the name of Vivian Wilkerson, being in her office, and she said, when you talk about interviewing, and she said, "So how much do you know about sports?" And I said, "Not a lot, but I'm willing to learn." And I literally went home and looked at videos and recorded and asked everyone I knew about what's this, who's this, what's this position, how does this game work? And that's what I did. And from there, it just kind of blossomed from one thing to the next. I started doing reporting, kind of a teen beat, and I had to create this whole concept, create the name. They let me do it. Then that led to me producing a pilot show while I was still in college. And then by the time I transferred to KU, I was doing various internships and really trying to learn every single capacity, every component, I should say, of the industry to make myself more marketable. Yep. As you know how that's very important, no matter what you do, whether you go into broadcast or anything, to you're going to be a better team player if you know how other people work and what their job entails. So I would kind of do everything from running the camera to editing to marketing, you name it.
You know, on our side of the business, Chumney and Associates, we make car ads, we make car commercials, we do advertising marketing for car dealers, right? And it's so important, especially for a car dealer. You know, you sell the same cars and the same colors with the same options and the same accessories for the same prices as the other dealers. What's the difference? And so we talk to our clients all the time about you've got to have a unique selling proposition. You've got, or we call them why buys. Why buy that car from me instead of the other guy who's got the same thing?
Right.
And in a way, just like if you're in a job interview, you got to sell yourself on why hire me instead of somebody else. When you're selling a car, when you're a car dealer, when you're advertising for a car dealer, you got to tell people why buy that car from me instead of the other guy. So back to what you were just saying about, you know, your background and how you got started and everything like that. I'm sure competition, and it probably still is, but I'm sure competition was fierce.
Yeah.
It still is fierce.
Still is.
I mean, there are so many people that would love to be in sports broadcasting or news broadcasting or just acting or being a spokesperson, a lot of the stuff that you have done and still continue to do. And so you've got to always kind of find ways to reinvent yourself and be able to stand out from the crowd as to why hire me to be your spokesperson. No different than the car dealer says, why buy that car from me instead of the other guy. So having said all that, you've got a book in front of you.
Right.
I believe it's called Floraland.
Blossoms of Floraland.
Blossoms of Floraland. And on that note, check out blossomsofloraland.com to read more about it and learn more about it, and also get all 58 of your different social media handles.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that. So we're talking about reinventing yourself and selling yourself as somebody who's an actress and a spokesperson and a newscaster and all that kind of stuff. So how are you continuing to reinvent yourself now as a child's book author? Tell us about that.
I think I've had so many different titles, but somehow they all kind of go hand in hand, I think, piggyback after the other. So my sister passed away on May of 2016. She died by suicide. She was an aspiring children's book author. She had been working on this concept for years. She had all the characters, the title of the book, this world that they lived in, and it's just beautiful. It's all about kindness and not judging people, and accepting and embracing diversity and just loving animals, and just really great theme behind there. And so when she passed away, I really wanted to make her dream come true. She struggled with mental illness and disabilities and didn't always have the resources available. So I kind of went together and I grabbed all of her notes, and I worked with this illustrator whom I've met through a mutual friend who had worked on hundreds of children's books. And we teamed up, and within literally like a few months, we had the book. It was complete. And I've been working diligently, thanks to people like you, trying to promote it and get the word out there. We published in September. And since then, I've helped craft a website. I've come up with, like you said, numerous social media handles. We're setting up events. We have one coming up this March. It's our first storytelling event. And it's going to be taking place on the day that would have been my sister's birthday at this beautiful wildlife sanctuary. If you've never been to Bush Wildlife Sanctuary, you really should, but it's going to be awesome, Paul. We're going to have kids.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yes, we're going to have kids yoga. It's going to really make this story come alive. There's going to be animal encounters. There's going to be coloring. And here's the best part. It's a free event. So why not go? And again, a portion of the proceeds of the books that will be sold that day will go towards AFSP. If you don't know what that is, it is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Awareness. And it's so important because I think a lot of people don't realize, and that's something that I'm trying to kind of get the word out there, that the suicide rate, this really is a silent epidemic. It is the second leading cause of death for young people. And military service members are more likely to die by suicide than they are in combat. So these are, it's not just statistics. I mean, you see it. Our suicide rate is double than that of the homicide rate. So, but here's the thing, it's preventable. We just need to know what to look for. So I'm really pushing that message.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, let's pause for a moment to acknowledge our sponsor, Chumney and Associates. If you sell cars, we'll make your ads. Chumney and Associates, we make car ads. Welcome back to the DigiKnow Podcast, episode 10, where we're talking about how to sell yourself and stand out from the crowd. In the studio is actress and spokesperson and newscaster and now author Miranda Khan, friend of the agency, an amazing person. Be sure to subscribe to the DigiKnow Podcast on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, and YouTube. Follow us at Chumney_ads, at Paul M. Harvey 14, and be sure to check out blossomsofFloraland.com. So Miranda, you were talking about your book and the inspiration behind the book and the good cause that purchasing your book goes towards. And we've had past guests, for example, the Fire Department Chronicles. They sell coffee, and a portion of proceeds goes towards various charities that support firefighters and first responders and things of that nature.
Love that.
You had mentioned a second ago about what's going on in the military and the suicide rate in the military, and there's obviously great charities out there. That, one of the stats that's out there is every 22 minutes or
I know what you're talking about.
Can't applaud you enough for taking what was obviously a very painful family experience with your sister, but then trying to make something good out of that, not only in her memory, but also to try and help other families maybe who are going through something like that, or maybe prevent it, as you said, from happening to other people. So I'm assuming on your website, blossomsofFloraland.com would be the best place to go for people if they want to read more about it or order a copy?
Yeah. So we actually don't sell the books on the website, but you will actually find a link to Amazon. And we're also on Goodreads. We're on a couple, I think, Books A Million,
and all
bunch
these people
of different
give us
websites.
permission to name drop on them because we only have like 25. It's not like it's not like the Joe Rogan show here, where Amazon's paying me to name drop them. I got like 25 followers. So,
I really hope they check out the website because it will kind of give you an idea of like storytelling events. Maybe you want to book a storytelling event.
And now Joe Rogan's going to sue me because I just dropped his name.
Totally going to happen. You can learn more about the mission, just anything and everything. We also have another book that's going to be coming out. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Hopefully by the fall.
Okay, good. So again, whether you're interviewing for a job and you need to stand out from all the candidates as to why you should be hired instead of the 58 other people being interviewed for the exact same position, whether you are a car dealer and you're trying to explain to people why they should buy that car from you instead of the other guy down the street that has the exact same car for the exact same price. And that's, again, where at Chumney & Associates, we do marketing advertising for car dealers, so we're always focused on unique selling propositions and why buys and things like that, building more value for the consumer if you purchase that vehicle from us instead of the other person. Let me just digress here for a second. For most people, purchasing a car is the second largest financial transaction they make in their lifetime, next to buying a house. So for most people, when they're buying a car, whether it's a new car or a used car, this is a major financial transaction.
Huge.
It's a scary situation, and you want to know that you're getting the best deal, you're getting the most bang for your buck, you're getting the most value for your purchase. And so that's why we believe at Chumney & Associates, whether you're advertising on TV or radio, whether you're advertising on Google or Facebook, whether you're doing direct marketing of some type through mail and email, whatever the case might be, we always want to make sure that our consumers know that when you buy a car from one of our clients, it's going to come with more extra value for your money than if you buy that from somebody else down the street, because we are, quote unquote, selling ourselves to the customer. Or in the case of an actress, newscaster, spokes talent, author like you, constantly, you've been doing this since you were 19 years old. I know that was only a couple of years ago, but time is flying by, right? You'll be 25 before you know it. Okay. And so you're just constantly reinventing yourself in order to get gigs in a very competitive, cutthroat industry.
But so are you, right? When you talk about the automotive industry and the time that I've, been fortunate to work with your company, you've also had to kind of evolve, right? Viewers' habits have changed. People don't watch TV like they used to. Sometimes it's just in the background, or they DVR it so they don't always see the commercials. Emails were much bigger at a certain point. Maybe they're not as big right now. So you've really got to hone in on viewers' habits. Social media is huge now. A lot of people, as we learned during the 2016 presidential election, were getting most of their information through social media first before they were even turning on the news. So that's something that you just kind of have to adapt with, right?
Sure,
I mean, you certainly have had to do it as an ad agency, and you've done very
hence
well.
the podcast we've launched to try and stay current and relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So we're trying to stay cool.
Well, good.
Cool with it,
cool,
you know?
Yeah, so cool,
definitely.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Well, I'm the old guy.
certainly a lot of work.
You're only 21.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
37. So.
That's why I'm so much better at social media. No, I'm kidding.
So, did you know how to sell yourself? You probably did, but in case you didn't, now you do. This was the DigiKnow Podcast, episode 10 with Miranda Khan. Thanks. Again, thank you for being here. And again, check her out at blossomsofloraland.com. Be sure to subscribe at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, and YouTube. Follow us at Chumney_ads, at Paul M. Harvey 14. Miranda.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much, and we'll check you out next time.